Welcome to Healing Your Family Legacy, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Innovative, evidence-based recovery that helps to identify intergenerational trauma, allowing for freedom and embracement of the healing process. Today, episode 60, Sexual Addiction, Part 3. And now your host, Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee.
And this is Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee, helping you heal your family legacy. Now, the last two sessions, we talked about sex addiction, and so today I'm going to continue talking about sexual addiction. And so if you have children in the room, you might want to take care of that situation right now before I start. So let me just review that sex addiction is obsessive compulsive sexual behavior in the face of harmful consequences. Okay? And these obsessions can take the form of fantasy. We talked about that. For instance, like internet pornography or running. You know, some people have watched pornographic images on the internet or in books, mostly the internet or TV, so often that now they run it in their brain. So there's a fantasy aspect to that, or overt acting out performed alone or with others. Okay, so this could include things like, obsessive compulsive masturbation. Masturbation is a healthy form of sexual expression when it's used for, say, self-care, self-love, or exploring your own sexuality, say, when you're young, or for women, some women have never explored that on their own. So, when I say that it's performed alone or with others, the other piece of this, especially if you're in recovery for sexual addiction, is that your sexuality, when it's used, when you are expressing that as a way to care for your relationship. So when there are two consenting adults, or, I know there's all kinds of other things going on out there that are supposedly consenting. But let me just say that so far, as a person who has worked with people who are sexual addicts, and also as a couples therapist over many, many years, 45 to be exact, or about, that when your sexuality is an expression of the next level of love or appreciation for another person or yourself, that seems to be the most healthy. Okay, so please, if you're in a polyamorous relationship, don't turn it off yet. I know that there are ways that people are expressing this as their sexuality as a way to express love. And like I said, that's a whole other topic, which I probably won't get into. So today I wanted to talk about some of the ways that people act out in sexual addiction that is harmful to others. One of the ones I want to discuss, which most people don't recognize, but when I talk about it, you might recognize that, oh yeah, that's happened to me. One of the ways I want to talk about sexual addiction today is when someone brushes against you touching your sexual parts of your body, and they act as if it's a mistake, or they just keep going and leave you sitting there going, what was that? That's called frottage. And so, for instance, if you are, say, walking on a sidewalk and someone bangs into you, touching your breasts or your penis in a way that at all, right? It's like, that's frottage. It isn't an accident, okay? When someone comes up behind you in line and gets too close so that their parts of their body that are sexual are now touching you, that's called frottage, and it's not an accident. It's on purpose. And what they're doing is that they're getting some kind of sexual hit off it. All right? So if this has happened to you, understand that you were right. It didn't feel good. Anytime that touching does not feel good, you're probably the victim of some kind of sexual acting out. Now, that might blow your mind a little bit because you think, wow, it's like, is this happening all the time? Let me tell you, it is an epidemic all over the world now because I would say thanks to internet and internet pornography. It's like people get ideas about ways to act out sexually that they think they can get away with. And so far they have. But when we get more and more aware of what is happening to us as human beings because someone's addiction is out of control, and we can stop that. Okay? Like if somebody comes up behind you in line and starts, bumping up against you, and you turn around and say, knock it off right now, back up, that person might think twice about doing that again. Now understand, this isn't, these behaviors aren't necessarily behaviors that you were born with, okay? We all have sexual desires. We all have sexual interests. That's not the issue. That's part of being a human being. It's how we behave and how we act that out, okay? So one of the sexual addiction issues that I usually get in my office, somebody that has acted out in ways that are harmful to themselves or others, is that, and most of the time this is men, okay, occasionally a woman, but most of the time it's men, and that is when they've acted out sexually in a relationship with somebody else, all right? Or they've acted out with a prostitute, and I covered that before. But the women or men, if it's a gay relationship, the impact is like soul crushing. These are the words that I've heard. Soul crushing. It's like you are in a relationship, you've put your hopes and dreams together, you might have children together, you probably have finances together. All these things require a great deal of trust in the other person, in the relationship. You trust them every day. And when you're being sexual with that person, there's a huge level of trust that goes on because you're completely exposed to another person. When you put your trust in them financially and you put those things together, it's like you are completely exposed. And when that person acts outside the relationship with another person, it's completely soul crushing. And I really think that word covers it. It is soul crushing. The fracture in the essence of the relationship sometimes can be repaired. Most of the time, it's not reparable. Okay? It takes a lot, and it's on the person that did it. Let me tell you. It isn't about the relationship. And sometimes I hear say, well, you weren't available to me. Well, you were too busy all the time with the kids. Well, there's no excuse. There's no excuse to crush somebody's soul. And when those people show up in my office, I listen to the story, because there's always a story. Tell me what you think. Tell me what happened, right? And usually the person that is, the offender in the situation, I listen to the story about how she or he wasn't there and how he or she didn't, show up for them. And I listen to that. And then I tell the spouse, I say, okay, if you need to get some healing around this. And, sometimes I'm willing, but most of the time I send them to somebody else, because then I turn to the person that has acted out and I say, you will be working with me on your sexual addiction. This is part of a sexual addiction. It is one of the most painful experiences that your spouse will ever have. And it's on you, I point at them, it is on you if you want this marriage or you want this relationship to continue. It's all on you, on your behavior, what you did. And sometimes that surprises people because they think, oh, we're going to go in here and you're going to become more available, or you're going to do these things that I've seen on the internet, or you're going to, be like that person I had that relationship with, or you're going to forgive me because I wasn't getting my needs met. And what I say to that is BS. Okay? I say, you are responsible for this, and you are responsible for fixing it. And then we work on, okay, how do you get in recovery for your sexual addiction? The same way you get in recovery for almost anything else, like gambling, okay? Like, even drugs and alcohol. It's like we all take medications, but those drugs that you're taking that are impacting you and you're doing it in spite of harmful consequences, you must stop. And so I tell a person that's sitting there, you must stop this behavior. Oh, well, I need to tell her, No, you don't. That person is also responsible for what has happened here, unless you were able to convince them that you weren't married or already in a relationship. They probably knew, and they did it anyway. So they've got a problem too. Not my problem today, but they have a problem too. Now, sexual addiction has its roots in shame. Unlike other addictions, which don't necessarily have their roots in shame, but they're part of, the shame that the person feels instead of, their relationship to themselves. It's about sexual shame and the feeling of, I am such a bad person. And the only way that I can feel better is by acting out in this way. Okay? And once you stop, let me tell you, the withdrawal from sexual addiction can be a nightmare for the person who is a sex addict. Because what they've done to their brain is that every time they feel pain, sad, whatever, it's all they have to do, because their addiction's sitting right there in their lap. Literally. They don't have to go out and find a dealer. They don't have to go out and find, some way. They don't have to, it's sitting in their lap and it's in their brain. And so this not behaving in this way, like not even masturbating, no masturbation during withdrawal. And what they have to do in their brain, if they really want to have this change, is that every time a thought comes up around their sexual behavior, they have to think about something else. They can't linger there. And they need people to confront them when they're doing the behavior, or they have to have somebody who is willing to talk to them when those issues or those images or those memories start coming up. Because they really have to rewire their brain. It doesn't do it on its own. Okay? So when someone who has a sexual addiction is trying to be in recovery, the first, say, 30 days is a nightmare. Sometimes they can't sleep. There's a real chance of suicidal behavior. I think I've mentioned before, until sexual addiction, until the internet happened to people's sexuality, I really hadn't had anybody kill themselves, and I'd been in practice for like 20 years. I'd had people say, oh, I wish I could die or the world would be better off that. But they didn't do it. They were able to work through it and wait. And, and that's all has to do with their brains. It's like they could say to their brains, well, this might be a long-term solution for a temporary problem. And they could manage it. But with sex addiction and especially the impact, when people who have acted out outside of marriage or outside of a primary relationship, when they see the impact on their partner and they start to understand the consequences, and sometimes the consequences might be they get arrested. So now it's in the paper and they're exposed. It's horrible. I got to tell you. I have seen people just, I think I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again just to let you know how really traumatic this is for people. Is that I had a man who had been in treatment for sexual addiction and was being referred to me for their ongoing treatment. Didn't even make it. He called and set up an appointment, and we had an appointment for the next day. And then his wife called and said he won't be in. He killed himself overnight. It's that bad. You've been in treatment. You're out of treatment. Now you have to come back and face the consequences. The consequences don't go away. In treatment, you feel better. You learn about, what happened and how this, shame is based, it's like your acting out is based in this sense of shame and not being worthy and all of these things. But then you come out and you have to deal with the consequences. And those consequences are sharp. And oftentimes there's very little empathy. Like, say you've acted out with a child or acted out with somebody underage, a teenager. Or let's say you have, committed exhibitionism, where you've walked up to somebody and flashed and, they call the police and you end up in jail. In our society, even though we're hypersexual as a society, we think about everything. It's like you turn on the TV, there are ads about sexuality and how you're going to be the most, attractive man or attractive woman if you just do that. And it's all about sex. We're hypersexual in our society. But we don't have much empathy for people who act out and cause harm to others. And most of the time it does cause harm to others. Like I mentioned a few sessions ago, even with pornography, it's like I've heard so many people say, well, there's no victim there. Oh, yes, there is. The woman or the man or the child or the teenager who are in those pictures. They're victims. So this isn't a victimless issue. There are a lot of victims. And when you get in recovery for a sexual addiction, it's really awful for the first 30 days. Sometimes it takes longer for your brain to calm down. Because your brain is all over it's lit up like a Christmas tree. And then you take it away and it's going, wait, where is that? Where is that high? Where are all those wonderful, dopamines? Where are all those wonderful chemicals that get released when you're sexually aroused? We all know what that's like. And imagine having that and then needing to take it up to the next level and the next level and the next level. Because guess what? At some point, those images that you're looking at, they're not going to do it for you anymore. You get to take it to the next level. And those images, they don't take it. And even if you're acting out with other people and you're not even using internet pornography, unless it's based in a relationship of some kind that is loving and caring, you're trying to take it to the next level, and your brain, all those chemicals are just flying around. And that's all you think about. Harmful consequences to your brain. Now, what I have discovered, because I've spent a lot of time working with men mostly who are sex addicts, is that they describe this feeling in their, I had one guy say to me, I can feel my brain rewiring. I feel it in my brain. And I know that is true. It's a real, when you decide to be in recovery for sex addiction, it is a commitment to yourself that is beyond anything you know. And sometime I'm going to have one of these men come on my show, and he's going to talk about that. What happened to him as a child? Because it's always based in childhood trauma. Every addiction is based in childhood trauma. I've got to, basically it goes something like this. I am scared out of my mind. I'm a little child. I am scared out of my mind. I feel like I am a piece of crap, that nobody cares, that I'm worthless. And this feeling is so overwhelming. And if I can find something to make me feel better, to take me out of this horrible feeling I'm having, to distract me, I do it. Because I'm a child, because I'm a teenager, heck, because I'm a man or a woman. There are better ways to deal with really intolerable reality. And boy, do we have some of those intolerable realities right now. We're in a pandemic. We're in a war. We're not personally in a war, but Ukraine's in a war, and we are trying to support them, but we're also afraid. Yeah, if you're not afraid right now, you're not paying attention. And we've got, financial issues going on. We've got some serious issues. And so we don't need to walk around going, oh, I'm afraid. We could say, oh, wow, these are really scary times. And I feel fear. Okay, so what are you going to do about that? Well, let's see. Going back to Recovery 101, I'm going to practice self-care. I am going to limit the amount of time I spend watching the news, because I do need to know what's going on. But once they start repeating, now I'm done. Or I can read a newspaper article, or I can look at the news online. It's like we have to know what's going on. But we don't need to sit there and keep redoing that over and over again, because when we do, that fear level just increases, and our brain says, I got to have a break. I need something to make myself feel better. Okay? And what I'm telling you is that, when you just limit that, you're starting to do really good self-care. Number one. Number two, you eat right. And you eat. You don't just eat right, you eat. Because some people stop eating. All right? You get exercise. And if you remember, I said, okay, when you exercise, you put that exercise in the same category as brushing your teeth. You don't get up and say, oh, geez, do I want to exercise today? I mean, I know I'm a human being. I put it in the same category as, brushing my teeth. And I would tell you right now that I'm not a morning person. And so I have to, when I get up in the morning, the last thing I want to do is exercise. And I've heard my brain tell me before, do you really want to exercise today? And I say, well, I'm going to brush my teeth. And so, yes, I'm going to exercise today. I'm going to exercise. And let me think, okay, the last time I did weight-bearing exercise was, say, 2 days ago. So I better do it again today. And I better add some cardio to that. So I'll go on a walk, or I'll do, whatever cardio I've got. But I put it in the same category. And I always have. This isn't new. Okay, yes, I'm partially retired, mostly retired. But, so I have a little more time, so I just do it a little later. But when I was still working, and I worked a lot of hours, I put it in the same category as brushing my teeth. I walked to work every day, even when it was raining. And when I was in Seattle, it was raining all the time in the winter, and it was dark. I still got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, got ready for work, and I walked. And when I came home, I would do some weights. Not a lot, but I did some to keep my body strong. But, it's like, that's what I could do, and that's what I did. I did different things over time. I got into yoga, I got into hot yoga, I got into CrossFit. I ran. I was a runner. I did all kinds of things over the years to make sure that my body was well, and I got enough sleep. Sleep is another piece of that, and having people in your life that care about you. So, I'm going to talk more extensively about recovery from sex addiction in our next show. So I hope you'll be back. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Healing Your Family Legacy here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. Healing Your Family Legacy is copyright 2022, Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.